In the high-stakes arena of global retail, Sephora is the final boss. It is the crown jewel of LVMH, the world's largest luxury conglomerate. It dominates the US, Europe, and most of Asia. When Sephora enters a market, local competitors usually die. But in May 2024, something impossible happened in South Korea. After 5 years of trying to conquer the market, Sephora surrendered. They shut down every single store, packed up their inventory, and fled the country. They didn't just fail. They were suffocated by a local competitor that started as a humble drugstore, a company that now controls approximately 90% of the Korean offline health and beauty market, earning it the nickname the Green Monolith. This company is Olive Young. To the average tourist, it looks like a fun place to buy face masks, but to a business analyst, it is a masterclass in logistics, data, and platform strategy. Olive Young is on track to surpass 5 trillion won, or $3.6 billion in annual revenue. Today on the Playbook, we are going to deconstruct how a local drugstore built an unbreachable moat, kicked the world's biggest luxury retailer out of the country, and became the undisputed gatekeeper of the global K-beauty trend. Play 1. The merchandising strategy. The Y Combinator for beauty. To understand why Sephora lost, you have to understand what they sell. Sephora's business model is prestige aggregation. They bring you the giants, Dior, Lancôme, Estée Lauder. They rely on the power of global luxury logos. But when Sephora entered Korea in 2019, they fundamentally misunderstood the market. They tried to sell heavy Western-style contouring makeup and expensive luxury brands. But the Korean consumer, arguably the most educated skincare customer on earth, didn't care about the logo. They cared about the ingredients. They wanted the glass skin look, which requires hydration, not heavy cover-up. Olive Young recognized this shift. Instead of stocking expensive legacy brands, they decided to create new ones. They adopted the incubator model. Think of Olive Young not as a retailer, but as Y Combinator for beauty startups. They find tiny indie brands with great formulas but zero marketing budget. They give them granular customer data, tell them how to fix their packaging, and put them on the shelves of over 1,300 stores. Take the brand Round Lab. It wasn't a giant corporation. It was a small indie brand that focused on a simple toner made with deep sea water. By partnering with Olive Young, they joined what is known as the 100 Billion Won Club. That is the elite group of brands making over $75 million a year just through Olive Young sales. Or look at Torden, which focused on hyaluronic acid. They used Olive Young's mentorship to become a top seller. Sephora tried to sell Korean $60 toner because it had a French name. Olive Young sold them $15 toner that actually worked better. In a high inflation economy, this concept of mastige completely destroyed the value proposition of traditional luxury. But Olive Young doesn't just incubate brands. They manufacture trends. They noticed that Gen Z customers were worried about getting old, but they hated the term anti-aging because it sounded like something for their grandmothers. So, Olive Young's merchandisers coined a new term, slow aging. They curated products for it, marketed it, and educated the consumer. The result was a self-fulfilling prophecy. Sales in this newly created category jumped 60% year over year. By naming the trend, they owned the trend. Play 2. The logistics strategy, the DoorDash of skincare. But great products aren't enough. You need to defend your territory. In Korea, the biggest threat to physical retail wasn't Sephora. It was Coupang, the Amazon of Korea, famous for its next-day rocket delivery. How do you beat Amazon? You have to be faster than Amazon. Olive Young realized that Coupang relies on massive distribution centers far outside the city. It takes time to truck goods into Seoul, so Olive Young launched a service called Today Delivery. The promise is simple. You order a pimple patch or a sunscreen on the app, and it arrives at your door in under 3 hours. How is this possible? Because Olive Young doesn't rely on massive warehouses in the middle of nowhere. They turned their 1,300 retail stores into micro-fulfillment centers, or MFCs. This is where Sephora failed mathematically. At its peak, Sephora had maybe 5 or 6 stores in Seoul. Olive Young has a store on almost every corner. For Olive Young, every store is a warehouse. When you order online, the algorithm finds the store nearest to your house. A quick commerce writer picks up the item right off the shelf and bikes it to you. By 2022, this Today Delivery service accounted for over 41% of their total online orders. This created an impossible barrier to entry. To beat Olive Young on speed, Sephora would have needed to lease 1,000 prime real estate locations in Seoul overnight. Play 3. Regulatory capture. Creating the standard. Play number 3 is about control. Olive Young realized that in a crowded market, trust is the ultimate currency. In 2020, They introduced their own Olive Young Clean Beauty standard. They created a rigorous blacklist of 27 harmful ingredients, like parabens and sulfates, and required eco-friendly packaging. If a brand met these strict criteria, they earned a coveted green leaf badge on the shelf. This was a brilliant strategic move known as regulatory capture. By creating their own strict standard, they positioned themselves as the guardians of consumer safety. Sales of these certified brands grew 51% in a single year. Effectively, they forced every beauty brand in Korea to reformulate their products to fit Olive Young's rules. If you want to sell in Korea, you don't just need to please the customer. You need to please Olive Young. They effectively became the government of the beauty industry. Play 4. The global strategy, exporting the culture. Finally, Play 4 is about taking this monopoly global. But they aren't just opening stores in random countries. They are using inbound tourism as their acquisition channel. Post-pandemic, visiting an Olive Young store has become a ritual for tourists in Korea, just like visiting the Eiffel Tower in Paris or Times Square in New York. The numbers are staggering. In the first half of 2024, nearly 6 million foreigners shopped at Olive Young. That is equivalent to roughly 80% of all tourists entering the country, and Olive Young is tracking every single purchase. They know exactly what the world wants. Their data shows that American tourists are obsessed with Korean sunscreen, largely because FDA regulations in the US have stalled innovation in UV filters. Europeans are buying serums and ampules. Southeast Asians are buying color cosmetics. They use this granular data to fuel their Global Mole, a cross-border e-commerce site that ships to 150 countries. It is a brilliant funnel. The K-pop and K-drama wave brings the tourists into the physical store. Olive Young captures them, gets them addicted to the high-quality, affordable products, and then keeps selling to them online when they go back home. So why did Sephora really fail? They thought they were entering the cosmetics business. They didn't realize they were entering a war zone defined by speed, data, and incubation. Olive Young's playbook was ruthless. 1. Don't aggregate legacy brands. Incubate new ones that offer better value. 2. Don't just build stores. Build a grid of micro-warehouses to beat Amazon on speed. 3. Don't just follow trends. Manufacture them with data. And 4. Turn retail into a cultural landmark that captures 80% of all tourism traffic. Sephora played the game of prestige. Olive Young played the game of platform. And in the modern economy, the platform always wins. Thanks for watching the Playbook. If you want to learn more about the winning strategies behind the world's biggest successes, make sure to subscribe.